It's 3 after.
It's set to start automatically in 1 minute,
Okay.
and then play. Did I get the timing wrong?
We're live.
Yeah. So why I have it set 5 minutes ahead.
Okay.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Channing Unitarian Universalist Church. We're glad you joined our worship today. Whoever you are, whatever your theological, spiritual, political, sexual, or racial orientation or gender identity, you are welcome to worship here and become a part of this community. Are there announcements this morning?
Of course there are. This Thursday, October 12th, 7 to 8, we have our intuitive meditation put on by Mike and Sandy. So if you want to come by for an hour of guided intuitive meditation, Thursday, 7 to 8. Saturday is the Open Road Coffee House featuring Justin Arena. That's going to be, the doors open at 7. Justin will take the stage at 7:30. Probably Friday night, we will do the setup. So if anyone wants to help set up tables and chairs and everything, let me know. Then we have next week, October 18th, 6:30 is our book club meeting, discussing Changing the World from the Inside Out by David Jaff. And then in a couple weeks, on the 26th, we have craft night. I think I'm done.
That's it. Any other?
LGBT History Month continues. Today is International Lesbian Day, and Wednesday is National Coming Out Day.
Just a reminder, on the 29th, the day of the dead service, we have all invitations went out Friday to all 7 churches in the district. You're all invited too. I didn't say that on the stand. So just a reminder that it's coming up. Pop as well.
I have 2 tickets to the Boston Ballet this afternoon that unfortunately I can't use, so if anybody here can use them, please let me know.
What time is the?
It's at 1:30.
There are no other announcements. Then I will turn it over to our guest visitors, our guest today, and our friend Reverend Barbara Dingholm.
Thank you, and welcome. I see some faces that I've seen before, and I see some that I haven't, which is lovely. I always love being here. I know that you're a welcoming church, and you're also a welcoming church. So that's a lovely thing if you can combine those 2. If we could take just a moment now for our in-gathering prayer. If you could just take a few seconds and kind of cozy yourself into your pew. At the Wayne Church, we have cushions on ours, so it's easier to do. But if you're like me, maybe you have a little extra padding back there, and you can still do that. Take a second, join with me in prayer, meditation, whatever suits your fancy. In light of what is happening in our world, especially with the news yesterday, bombing in Israel, it's hard to maintain our spirit of love and kindness and gratitude. The world has probably never been a safe place. It certainly is not now. But it is the place in which we live. And much as we may, and I will use the word whine because I do, much as we may whine about the state of this world at this moment, I still believe it's a wonderful place to be. A loving, a kind, a beautiful place. So we can all work together to not only maintain them and sustain them, we should also entertain them and pray for better times to come. They always do. It's just not imminent right now. The better things are on the horizon. Please take a moment, consider your thoughts, and then we will follow with our greetings to our neighbors. I invite you now to turn to your neighbor and in kindness and appreciation and say hello to one
And hello to all of you watching at home.
Rick, you did a nice thing. You came in front of the camera to wish good morning and good wishes to everyone who's watching us. Thanks for doing that.
It's because I don't have to shake their hands.
Okay, we'll edit that. Now is the time for lighting of our chalice. Please stand as you are willing and able, and we will together say our chalice words as Lauren might. Kindling this flame of our rural heritage, let us open to the presence of the sacred. Would you join with me also in saying our affirmation? All of that is in your order of service. Love is the doctrine of the church. The quest for truth is sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine, thus to be covenant with each other and with God. Please remain standing as you are able and enjoy our opening hymn number 90 from all fret and fever of the day. Let's go. Please. Now is the time of the service when we have Lauren, I think, yes, light a candle in celebration of joy that we may wish to share, or in sorrow or a concern that we may have, that we also may wish to share. I do believe that together, if we voice our joys, definitely, our joy is maybe 100-fold. And as we voice our sorrows, the empathy is boundless.
I have two. First, notice it's a lot calmer and quieter in here than normal because Maggie is at home with a baby. So a joy for all of us and perhaps a concern for the babysitter. And the second one is this week, Rick and I are celebrating 15th wedding anniversary.
That's clapping. Lauren, I'm going to ask you to light one of me. Yesterday I was lucky enough, I think it was, to a first birthday celebration for my great nephew who turned 1. And I counted that the children outnumbered the adults at that party. There were 25 children, all under the age of, my eldest granddaughter is still 9, and there were 21 adults. It was a very long day. No alcohol was offered although I did have a glass of wine last night, I must confess. But it was a wonderful, wonderful day. And the parents of the 1-year-old are determined not to give him any added sugar until he may go to another birthday party elsewhere. But he consumed a good part of a cake that was made of oatmeal, oat flour, does that sound right? Oat flour, and blueberries and strawberries, and whipped cream, but no sugar added to it. And he started out with much thought and maybe a taste of a blueberry. And by the end, the entire thing was all over his face. So that's exactly how I wanted it to be. So it was a lovely day out in Hopkinton. The rain held on for most of the day. And kids and adults had a marvelous, marvelous time. Thanks.
I guess for a friend that is struggling, and for anyone that's struggling, that they get through their struggles. And also joy for being an adult and finding places to make friends at church.
However you find this. What is that phrase? Build it and they will come.
I have a concern just for a friend who's having a difficult housing situation, and so they thought they've been secure for a couple of years now, and they're like, this time upended, and it's stressing them out, and switch the best.
I'm gonna light a candle for all my coworkers in Israel, but for 2 in particular that I work with closely. You know, at least one in the state. There are no others. I will light one last candle for all those joys and concerns that we hold deep within our hearts.
Thank you, Lord. I know it's not always easy to share the concerns, but I do think it's important. So much easier to share the joys. A commercial aired on TV a few years ago, featuring Matthew McConaughey standing back to at night over an infinity swimming pool, apparently contemplating a plunge. The commercial is an ad for some luxury car, and for the life of me, I cannot remember which one. All I do remember is seeing this handsome actor, tanned and fit, dressed impeccably in a perfectly tailored suit, who does by the end of the commercial let go and with ultimate abandon fall back into that pool. Now, I do not necessarily advocate jumping into swimming pools fully clothed, although if Matthew McConaughey were part of the equation, I might do it. Generally, I am going to follow the rules and to do what is expected of me. Last week, however, on a particularly nice early fall day, my granddaughter and I were at a small park on a pond near her home. She had specifically asked to go there as it has a slide that is both scary and intriguing, as well as having access to a small private sandy beach and, of course, the lake. We hadn't been there in probably a month, and the weather had been 15 degrees warmer. Elliot, my little granddaughter, and I played on the playground and then walked down to the beach area. Within seconds, we both had our shoes and socks off, and we were wading in the water. Within minutes, she and I were both in up to our knees, pants rolled up and giggling like two little schoolgirls. Her arms spread wide to the sky, a smile the size of Texas on her sweet baby face. Ellie exclaimed, "This is the best day ever, Green." She gets it. Lately, so many events she has deemed the best ever. At Friendly's, she had the best candy corn sundae ever. While at Dunkin' Donuts or at Ducky's, it's the best chocolate milk ever. To be that enthralled with and elated by the word is a joy to witness and infectious to be around. She is almost always in the moment, and she never fails to let you know how she feels. She's full of wonder and joy at the smallest things. If I had suggested that we strip off all of our clothes and fall back into the water that day, she would have taken me up on my suggestion in a heartbeat. She has no problem unwinding or disrobing, and she has yet to add the word stress to her vocabulary. I envy her and I adore her. She has so much to teach me, and I ache to learn it all. Please take a moment again for a little prayer and a little meditation. Would you join with me now? Remain seated in singing hymn number 123, Spirit of Life. Thank you, Maddie. I'm never tired of hearing you. Now is the time for our offering. Without your money, we don't exist. So please be generous. Please stand if you are willing and able and join us in singing the words in your order of service. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Maddie. Good morning again. Now, maybe I am dim-witted, but up until a few years ago, I simply could not keep it straight. Was it spring back, fall ahead, or spring ahead, fall back? Both of them made sense to me. I could see springing back in April as in a coiled slinky. Remember those that you put down the stairs and probably trip? It was easy for me to picture springing back to life in the first vibrant month of the year. But I could also envision falling ahead in the autumn, like falling into the harvest time or into the holidays. It was only when I really thought about it, what I was doing with my watch and my clocks, and ultimately how my cell phone adjusted in April by moving ahead an hour, as if by magic, that it dawned on me how spring ahead, fall back made perfect sense. So spring ahead, fall back it is. Now there are 2 times each year that I get the urge to make changes in my life. One is right after New Year's Day, I'm not alone, I'm sure. The other is in early September. Neither is surprising, probably. As one year is run out and another is heralded in, it is no surprise that I, like so many others, feel the need to take the bull by the horns and make myself anew. On January 1st, I make an abundance of resolutions, and they are all lofty, they are all admirable, and for the most part, they are all unachievable. Perhaps I should revise that. They may be achievable for some, but I do not achieve. I always think that I will lose 60 pounds, but I like to eat, so I don't. I have plans every year to clean out my basement and purge my files, but again, I rarely do. However, 5 years ago, when I first broached this topic as a sermon, I was still looking at total recovery from damage caused by ice dam. Do you remember that winter? Almost 2 years prior, and yes, that has been accomplished. Looking at many of my resolutions now, Sunday, October 8th, I can see that I have failed in some areas, yet I have been able to achieve in others. 5 years ago, I definitely labeled myself a complete loser in that area. Today, maybe only a partial one. The other time of year at which I choose to examine my life with fresh eyes is always in the fall. By early September, I am usually sick to death of sweat. And this summer was especially humid and wet, and I confess that I was ready for fall to begin. I have mostly lost my taste for hot dogs on the grill, and even boat rides in Hingham Bay are not that alluring in October. Oh, I have to pack up all that stuff to take out on a boat. I need to buy more snacks and wine. I have to walk down that long gangplank again. Oh, wine, wine, wine. I'm sick of summer by the time the calendar changes to September, so autumn is always a welcome respite for me. Although cooler days and crisp nights are not immediately apparent, as school buses start to roll within a few weeks, I begin to see the colors changing on the trees as they are now. Do any of you drive down 139 out of Abington into Holbrook, where the Hallamore? Yeah. I always love to see how everything, yes, you too. And in the winter, all the trees are covered if it's snowing. It's like a winter wonderland, and in the fall, I feel like I've just gone to Vermont for a day. Yes. And it's dark, it really looks nice there. And I am drawn like a moth to a flame to anything that is orange. Pumpkins, gourds, scarecrows. I'm ready for change, and I think it's ready for me. The difference between how I approach January 1st and September 1st, however, is palpable. No longer am I sucked in by false yet enticing dreams. Exciting as they may be in January, and hopefully attainable someday, I have reined in my desires and curtailed my hopes. Some of this is due to age, I admit. Some of it's due to laziness and lack of good old-fashioned stick-to-itiveness. Now, up until spring of 2020, we lived in an acute world. Probably most of the world's population did also. We followed schedules and calendars. We filled our days with appointments and meetings. We penciled in lunches and squeezed in quick dinners in front of the TV many nights. We were often up at dawn and not into bed again until after the 11 o'clock news. Weekends were packed with running errands, kids' soccer games, karate lessons, quick trip to CVS, and maybe, if we were lucky, dinner out on a Saturday night with friends. We were all so busy, so acutely busy, that I feel that we often lost sight of what I believe is our reason to be here in the first place, to connect with one another. The pressure we placed on ourselves to achieve, to get ahead, to stay ahead, was often overwhelming. I was as guilty of this as any of you, so do not think that I'm singling you out. We seem to thrive on seeing the situation or problem, assessing its merit, determining if and how it pertains to us, and then we do haste and tact it with gusto to achieve our goal. And then we moved on to the next task at hand. In rural, 100 years ago, this was certainly not so important. Farmers were governed more by the temperature and light in the sky at certain times of the year than by clocks and iPhones. Back then, daylight savings time made perfect sense if planting, growing, and harvesting crops was your thing. But I wonder if it still has any merit today. When daylight savings was first initiated in 1918, its purpose was to save energy because people would spend less time in the dark and require less illumination. If there were more sunlight at the end of the day, there would be less time that we would be awake when it was dark. This coincided perfectly with the bucolic areas of the country, as well as with factory and business workers. Farmers could use the later and brighter hours in the day to continue their planting and hoeing, and city workers could have more hours after they came home from work for relaxation and leisure. The main reason to have daylight savings time then is to make better use of daylight during the spring and summer months. So there's an extra hour of sunlight in the evening instead of the morning. In the fall, when harvesting was done, there was little reason to keep daylight savings time in place, and it was too cold in many places to enjoy activities outside. So the government decided it was a good time to turn our clocks back. In March of 2020, however, all of our busyness seemed to end abruptly. In fact, business itself seemed to come to a screeching halt. As COVID-19 came in, sanity went out. Everything that we had done routinely and quickly, we were then reevaluated. Never until then had we ever even considered wiping down milk containers and packages that arrived in the mail. Do you remember doing that? I do. Never had the thought of wearing a mask in public crossed our minds. Never had it occurred to us that we might be unsafe to even walk into a grocery or department store, or that it was necessary that we maintain a 6-foot perimeter around our person. But suddenly there we were, wiping and masking and staying clear of fellow human beings for fear that they would contaminate us. And with good reason. According to a survey in Time magazine a few years ago, Americans are the least likely of all first world populations to handle long-term stress well. On the surface, we appear to do great. We are, in fact, Americans. We are doers. We are idealists. We are achievers. We work more hours, with less vacations than those in other industrialized nations. We do, we win, and we suffer heart attacks and strokes more frequently than do our counterparts elsewhere on the globe. Up until about 30 years ago, American women lagged behind in this dubious distinction, but ladies, no gender gap here any longer. We have achieved almost equal billing with our men in that department. We work until we cannot due to death or, if we are fortunate, I guess, illness strikes. There's a hymn that we often sing together in church called We Sing Now Together. And I like best the line that states, we sing of community, now in the making. When our lives are so packed and our minds are full to overflowing, it's easy to overlook and ignore community. When COVID hit, we all put the brakes on. Shouldn't we be doing something useful? Aren't we squandering our time by doing jigsaw puzzles? I love them. And binging on Netflix? I love them. We worried, but there was nothing else to do, so we had no choice. By now, I've come to see that maybe we needed this little respite, and maybe we need one every year when daylight savings ends each fall. COVID gave us time to reflect and regroup and revamp. Chronic uncertainty has taught me many things. For one, I need to examine and perhaps evaluate what is critical to my well-being. For another, I may need to make adjustments and do so without beating myself up about it. It doesn't make me or you bad people or deadbeats or losers if we slow down or sit down or even lie down. It just makes us human. And perhaps this latter realization that we are all human, mere mortals, is the most amazing and beneficial lesson. Thankfully, in the past several years, with the knowledge and expertise of scientists and doctors, one of whom I think just won the Nobel Prize for having done so from MIT, we have been able to gain a foothold on this devastating illness that we call COVID, that killed so many and harmed so many more. We have turned the corner of virus that has held us in our current work, so we hope. This past week, I got my latest booster, as did my husband. Grateful for the scientific minds that developed it, and for the opportunities I am afforded because of it. January 1st always offers the promise, false though it may be, of what is possible in the coming months. We are like toddlers, eager to embrace change, wishing to make ourselves anew, and to pursue all of life's options with gusto. Come fall, however, we are a little less eager, definitely a trifle more cautious, a tad more seasoned, a smidgen less apt to throw caution to the wind in our pursuit of life's treasures. All of us experienced a setback due to COVID, whether we realize it or not. It may be physical, or emotional, or spiritual, or more likely a combination that has given us all pause to examine our lives anew. Although we may no longer till the soil ourselves, maybe there is still a human need to quiet our lives at this time, especially this year. If so, we need to give ourselves permission to rest our bodies, our minds, our hearts, and our souls, and to allow ourselves the luxury of simply being and not doing. It could be that our change this autumn will come in the form of just easing into that cozy and welcoming chair, a cup of tea or hot cocoa in hand, a blazing log on the fire, and a good book in hand. Because I have found that sometimes it is beneficial and even necessary to just relax, to let go, and then to fall back. Would you join with me now in standing as you are able and singing hymn number 113, Where is Our Holy Church? Now is the time for extinguishing of our chalice. Please join with me in saying our words in unison as one does. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, or the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Think long. As you leave this warm, safe, and sacred space, may we hold fast to the comfort and peace that we have found. Let the sorrows and celebrations we have shared remain in our hearts, in order that compassion may heal and support us. Allow wonder and contentment to enter our souls, and kindness to rule our minds. Permit us to surrender to life and to embrace what comes. Let us fall back into it and succumb to joy. Amen. Please sit and enjoy Maddie's creations.
Thank you.